Hey, my name is Portia Blanchard, and So this is kind of funny for me. I love typing, and I love writing, and I love expressing myself that way. Doing videos, it's kind of weird because I see my face. But I've been able to have so many in-person, face-to-face conversations with friends that have really helped me. And as much as I love writing and sharing thoughts and feelings and connecting with people that way, there is power in seeing people face-to-face. So here we go. I wanted to just have some fun and try something with doing video vlogs also. Anyways, you are just up on my windowsill right now because I don't have any fancy equipment or a special, my office is now my baby's room. So we're just gonna have you be on the windowsill and just have a chance just to connect heart to heart. So today, what was on my mind was this overarching theme of the power of having the freedom to try. It's the 4th of July tomorrow, and I think something that we can undervalue is the beauty and the power of just trying something. We cheer on the successes, we cheer on when you reach this big goal or the job opportunities, whatever it is for you. But it's not very often that we celebrate and really value the freedom to be able to try. And that can apply to so many different things. But what I wanted to share about today was a question that I talk about with my friends a lot, and that's being able to try different types of educational systems for your children, whether that's homeschool or, I'm just gonna talk about homeschool or public school, and being able to try those options. Now, when I talk about homeschool or public school, you guys know, like if you were public schooled, there's so many different types of public school, and it depends on the location that you were in. And if you liked your teacher, it's so many different things. So public school is still a huge subtopic, and there's so many things from there. And that's the same way with homeschool. Just because there is homeschool, there are certain stereotypes for a classic homeschooler, which are so not the case. So I just thought I would give you a little background of my education growing up, and then what we've done with our children, and that might maybe help you on your journey of what resonates most with you and what do you want to try, and giving yourself permission and freedom to be able to try it. I'm going to try and talk quick because I promise you kids will be walking in. So I grew up being homeschooled. First, what do you think of when you hear I grew up being homeschooled? What do you picture? What do you imagine? So the way that I grew up being homeschooled is very different than the way that my siblings grew up being homeschooled, even in the same family. So this is just my experience with homeschooling. I grew up, and when I did homeschool with my mom in the home, and we'd have different co-ops that we'd go to sometimes. So I'd learn gymnastics here, or I did history there, or Shakespeare there, lots of different things with different friends. But my home base was home. Most of my education was at home. It's funny because I say that, and then I'm like, well, I also did dance when I was younger, and gymnastics and karate and all these other things that are education. So my home base kind of was home. Then when I was 11, almost 12, I decided to start going to the community college, Solid Community College, and there I really delved into American Sign Language. That was something that I'd been taught since I was a child. It was like my soul's language, and I loved it. And I got to being like 11 or 12, and I learned pretty much all I could learn just from community teachers that we had, or online resources at the time. So my mom helped me study, and we tested into college. So I was taking sign language classes, and then I don't remember how old I was. Soon after that, I was able to transition into American Sign Language interpreting. And that was my associate's degree when I turned 18. Now, with that being said, I always felt behind in math, because I was always behind in math. And I felt kind of embarrassed about that when I was younger. But looking back now, I recognize that we don't need to be good at everything to have a great education. And as parents, I know we want our children to be great at everything, but whether your children do homeschool or public school, you will know your child is naturally drawn to certain things, and other things can be more challenging. Doesn't mean they can't do great with that. I could have really delved in deeper with my parents with math, or I know at one point they got me different tutors with math. I just didn't have the interest with it. So that was my story. Anyways, that was my homeschooling experience. Loved language arts. I loved Shakespeare. My name comes from a Shakespeare play, so I loved that. I love theater and performing and acting, and I loved American Sign Language. So there were some things I excelled in, and other things that I was always grades behind in, and that's okay. So that was my homeschooling experience growing up. I will also say with that homeschool experience that my friends that were public schooled, they seemed so cool to me. They seemed so cool. Maybe it's like the grass is greener on the other side, or whatever it was. I was a super, super social person. But public school just seemed so cool to me. And I knew when I was younger that I did not want to homeschool when I became an adult, because it seemed like a lot of work also to homeschool. So I just didn't want to do it. So then flash forward to when I had my first son, and with Aiden, my first and only son, he is my oldest out of 7 children, and the rest of the 6 are girls. So when my son was born, I didn't really have a huge intention of homeschooling, but my husband really was intrigued and loved the idea of homeschooling. Let me click close. Okay, so it comes time for preschool. Came time for preschool, and I was just looking at different school options, and the more I looked into it and talked to my husband, I realized that the thought of homeschooling did sound kind of intriguing and exciting, at least at that basic age with preschool. Just to start with preschool with homeschool, and then we'll go from there. What ended up happening though was when I was looking at one of the preschools in the area with a friend, I was actually offered a job to come and be a teacher's aide of some sort, to teach some of the classes there. So that was kind of the best of both worlds for me, where I was able to teach my son, but have a social school experience. So that was preschool, and I realized I loved it so much that we wanted to do kindergarten. So then we did kindergarten, and we taught him, and all my children are just under 2 years apart. So they're about not a grade apart, but I don't know how you say it. 2 grades apart? That's how you say it. Okay, so they're 2 grades apart. So then I taught Aiden and Brinley and Alyssa, and we did homeschool in the sense where the majority of things that we did with homeschool with my children were things that I did. I didn't really incorporate a lot of community things with homeschooling. Part of that was I don't know, it just seemed busy or too much to kind of outsource things. It was a long drive to be able to join up with the different homeschool groups. I love the idea of it, but when it came down to it, I really didn't incorporate homeschool teachers a lot with my homeschool experience. And I was very much curriculum based. With homeschool, there's lots of different ways that you can homeschool. You can be curriculum based, you can do a child-led parent, I don't know all the terms. Child-led parent directed, encouraged, supported, something like that. You can do unschooling, you can have tutors come in for homeschool. There's lots of different ways that you can homeschool. But the way I did it was I was the main teacher, and we had curriculums that we'd use. And I loved it until I got to a point where I was super, super burnt out from it. And in the middle of the school year, I'm like, I want to try public school. I just really need a break. And I know it's middle of the school year, but that's what we get to do, is we get to transition to public school. And my kids were kind of nervous about it. But sometimes as the mom also, you get to decide what's best for your mental health as well as for your children as a whole. And that was my decision for me. So we did public school, and it was awesome. The teachers were so great. The children really, I was surprised at how quickly they were learning concepts. And they were able to make friends. It was a great experience. But there were some things that at that phase in our life that I did not like with public school. And just like there were things with homeschool that I did not like with homeschool. With homeschool, I was essentially the only one that was doing it. And it was a lot of just pressure that I put on myself. With public school, the thing that I did not like about it at that time was we kind of went from having them be home all day to all of a sudden they were gone for a good chunk of the day till 3 o'clock. And then right afterwards, we would have gymnastics or church groups or Ninja Warrior, all these different things that we were doing afterwards. So then I felt that I went from seeing them all day to never seeing them at all. And it was so busy and they were exhausted and there was so much fighting in the home and it was just not the direction we liked either. So that summer came and we just, if the buzzer beat, then time's up. Okay, so where was I? It was super, super busy all the time. So then summer comes around and I loved having them at home. Absolutely loved it. They were playing better together. It was a little bit simpler and less busy and just felt good. So that next year we talked and we all decided that, well, how did the conversation go? Okay, we sat down at the table and we're like, would we as a family, and again, your conversations can be different. I'm just telling you our story and our experience, and that might maybe just bring some things up for you. But for us, with our big family, we sat down at the table and we said, okay, do we want to do public school and no activities in the evening, meaning not gymnastics, not competition teams, just public school, and then having our family time at home with however we choose to fill it? Or do we want to do homeschool and have gymnastics and Ninja Warrior and whatever competition teams we choose to do? And as a whole, we all decided that we wanted to do homeschool and have those activities in the evening. So then we did a year of homeschool and it was great and awesome. And we attended more homeschool activities happening. The kids did the play Annie with homeschool friends, and they did the Shakespeare class with homeschool friends. And then I would have a nanny. I call her my Sherry Poppins, like a Mary Poppins lady. She would come over twice a week and she would be home with the children, whether that was different school activities that I would have pre-ready for her, or whether it's she was babysitting while I then had my alone space to do my business or hobbies, or she'd help with laundry. Anyways, we'd have someone that would come and help me during the day. So we did homeschool and then we had all of our activities in the evening. And that to me kind of felt like the best of both worlds. With that though, so the end of the school year, the end of the homeschool year, I was going to sign up for the homeschool convention and I just felt gross. Just felt gross with it. And almost a little bit of a resentment towards it. So I bought my tickets anyways, because I'm like, maybe I'm just burnt out and I need to go to this convention and just feel rejuvenated. But we have family councils fairly often in our family. And as I processed what I was feeling and then talked with the kids about why we love homeschool and why we love public school, at the end of that conversation, I really just felt a peace about doing public school again, which is kind of crazy. My son will be going into middle school. And I always told myself, that's the one thing I don't want to do is I don't want to do public school, middle school. But here we are, and that's what we're doing. And the kids are excited about it. The more we get closer and closer to the school year, the more peace I feel about it. We decided to do summer school this year as kind of a warm-up routine of waking up in the morning, and they're at 3 different schools and figuring out if we're gonna do the bus or me dropping off and picking up. Anyways, we did summer school kind of as a warm-up experience again, and it felt great. It felt really, really great. I was worried that with them being gone so long, like, how would that be with me and my contribution as a mom and being able to teach them that way? And what I realized during this summer school experience was it gave me a lot of one-on-one time with the 4 children at home. No, 3 at home, 4 in school. Yes, I'll get it figured out. With the 3 children that I still had at home, it gave me more one-on-one time with them, and it gave me time to journal more. And I have been starting to pursue some interests and talents for me that I haven't pursued in a long time. Yes, you can totally pursue your interests and talents with children. I'm not saying that you can't. I still have 3 children at home, and I pursued things while I was homeschooling, but it is also different for me to be able to have some more time during the day where I can go to the gym, or I can put the kids in a double stroller and I can go for a run. We auditioned for the play Cinderella, and now we're doing a play together as a family in the evenings. Anyways, point being, the power of being able to try is so important. If I would have never let myself try homeschool, there would have been some beautiful experiences that I would have missed out on. It is an incredible feeling to be able to teach your child how to read. That to me is one of my highlights with homeschool. To teach them how to read and how to write their name it's a special place in my heart. And to be able to see them just in the books that they love to read at home and the talents that they develop, you're able to get to know your child in a special way when you homeschool. And I'm so glad that I let myself try that. And with doing public school now, I am so glad that I let myself try that experience too, because I learned in being able to trust others, being able to trust other teachers with my children, and that they can learn some incredible things, and it doesn't need to be just for me, that it created that sense of community for me. And again, trust was a big thing for me with doing public school, and being able to allow myself some time to breathe and to pursue the things that I wanted to pursue also. So again, 4th of July is tomorrow. There's lots of things on my mind and my heart when it comes to the freedom to try, whether it's try a homeschool or public school, try a business or not a business, try a home birth or a hospital birth, or having a child at all. I have definitely put a lot of pressure on myself with the things that I felt like didn't turn out the way that I wanted them to. And this 4th of July, I just invite us to take a break and celebrate the freedom to even try in the first place and the beautiful places that just trying can lead us. So happy 4th of July, and put in the comments if you have homeschooled or if you've public schooled or if you've done a mix of both, and what your experiences are with it. What are some things that you're wanting to try? Okay, so I just came into my kids' room and Aiden's room, yes, he has a cool loft bed. And I want to ask them, what are 2 things that they loved about homeschooling, and what are 2 things that they loved about public school?
Well, with homeschool, I really loved being when I'm done with my lessons of the book, I like to go outside and jump on the trampoline. And another thing is I also like to have time playing in the pool.
That's awesome.
I liked how I was able to actually be at home the whole day, and that you don't need to get up in the mornings
to get on the bus.
Mm-hmm. What's the second thing that you love?
That's my 2 things.
Your 2 things? Cool. Love it. Okay, so what are 2 things that you loved about public school?
Public school, there's easier math. I love playing with my friends at recess.
Mm-hmm. Love it.
I wish I could share more.
It is fun to be able to play with the friends at recess.
Mm-hmm.
And it can help you learn pretty fast.
Cool. Okay, now we're gonna go to the younger grades.
Version 2.
So Alyssa, what's 2 things that you love about homeschool?
I like helping braille do at school, and sometimes I write fun stuff in my school books.
That's awesome. What's 2 things that you love about public school?
There's like little fun papers that we can draw on, or really fun math stuff.
Awesome, thanks. Okay, Brielle. Come here. What's 2 things that you loved about doing school at home?
I like helping my friend with homeschool.
Not your best.
Or we can just help people do homework.
That's awesome. Now, what's 2 things that you loved about school, going to school?
I like having lunch.
You like the lunches? What else do you like?
The chicken at lunch.
You like the chicken at lunch? Awesome. So I really do believe that we are all children of God, and that we're sent on this earth to learn in so many different ways and from so many different people. And like how we've had family councils, and I've had time to write in my journal and really decide, kind of tune into what I want and what we want and what he wants. I know that you guys can do the same thing too. So if there's something that you're wanting to try, let yourself try it, knowing that everything doesn't have to work out perfect, and you can live and you can learn and you can change things up, and that's totally okay. But don't be afraid to try.